All right. Good morning, everyone. Adam Smith with the Core Finance Group. With me, as always, is our marketing director, Kelly Dingens. And this week we've got a very special guest for you guys. Denver's own Steve Calley. Denver is a city in Colorado. Live video. Steve is a real estate agent in Broomfield. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
But you must focus on the north area in general. You grew up in Arvada.
Yes.
For those of you that aren't familiar with the area, that's again a North Denver suburb. Although I don't know that I would call Broomfield a North Denver suburb. I would say that's probably more like a bedroom community of Boulder, if anything.
It's a nice middle ground of Boulder and Denver. Yeah.
Okay. Do you spend a lot of time working in the Boulder area?
Yeah, a little bit, not too much. Most of my areas I focus in is Arvada, Westminster, Broomfield, the northwest part of Denver. Haven't sold anything in Boulder, but certainly not opposed to it.
Okay. It's certainly a very different market than Denver. So, yeah, I certainly understand that. And I see we've already got something of an audience here this morning. Those of you that are watching, you probably are relatively regular viewers and know that last week we had some audio technical issues. If you guys aren't hearing me or Kelly or Steve, then please let us know and we'll try to make adjustments as we go. But certainly good morning to all of you watching. So, Steve, give us a little bit of background on you. Prior to real estate, what you were doing, how long you've been in, a little bit of, friends and family and the kinds of things that, build up and lead to a real estate career.
Okay. So I guess to start off with, not to give you too much information, but graduated from University of Northern Colorado with a bachelor's degree in business management. And from there, I worked for 4 years almost 4 years as an assistant store manager for Target. Graduating in 2010, as you know, there was not a lot of jobs available at that time. So I took a job with Target, had a good experience, but it wasn't my long-term fit. From there, I wanted to run my own business and got introduced to my sister's realtor at the time. And he offered me, a job, and he offered to mentor and teach me, and put his arm around me and teach me how to be successful in this business. And took a chance at it. Thankfully, I did. Took a little convincing with my wife, though, going from a salaried position to straight commission and no guarantees. But it's been a great move. I'm glad I did it. It's been almost 5 years. So it'll be 5 years next month in real estate. I'm a family man, got 3 kids, a 6-year-old daughter, 3-year-old son, and another 1-year-old son. So
wow, you have your hands full at home.
Yeah, my wife is a full-time stay-at-home mom, and she is even busier than me, as you can imagine.
Oh, I can imagine. We have 3 kids as well, although their age range is a little greater, so we don't have the multitude of kid stuff going on in our house that you have in yours, no question. So let me ask you a question just because I'm curious. And I hope that our audience would be as well. Metro Brokers, and we know that you're with Metro Brokers, and obviously the signage behind you there is testament to that. Metro Brokers is something where I typically see well-seasoned agents, very independent. They're not looking for a whole lot of support. They know how to handle their lead generation. They know how to find and complete their education, those kinds of things. Were you with another company prior?
I was not. So part of the reason, Dennis Fanning is my managing broker. And part of the reason why I went with him, for one, he was my sister's realtor, real good guy, very successful, been in the business a long time. I knew I could learn a lot from him. But the second thing, when I was in real estate school, they said, don't necessarily go with a company, go with like find somebody that's really good at their craft or good at what they do and follow them. And so that's why I really went with Metro Brokers. It wasn't so much Metro Brokers. It was more the managing broker, Dennis Fanning. But Metro Brokers has been great for me. I know it's a little unconventional to start with Metro Brokers, like you said, but been fantastic, giving me flexibility to and the entrepreneur kind of lifestyle that I've wanted, and it's been great. So, does that answer your question?
It does, and I think it plays really well to the fact that from start to finish, you guys that are involved in the industry, whether you're real estate agents or loan originators, you've got to understand that it's a relationship business. And we're not just talking about the relationship that you're going to have with potential buyers, sellers, borrowers, and certainly all of the people that are going to spawn from those relationships, the referrals, etc. But that here is a prime example with Steve about the fact that it's a relationship business, even in the back end, even what's going on behind the scenes, and that's something that you guys really need to pay close attention to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a very big deal. So you've spent your entire career with Metro Brokers.
Yes, that's right.
Well, tell us about that. How long have you been in the business?
So, been in the business almost 5 years next month. So, woohoo!
Congratulations. That's a big deal.
It is. I mean, from what you hear all the statistics that like not very many, maybe like 13% of agents make it to 5 years. So I consider that a blessing and an honor to have made it this far. I got a long ways to go and still continuing to learn and grow and better my business every day, but that's what it's all about. So I enjoy doing it. I enjoy helping and serving people and meeting with them and trying to help people reach their goals and giving them a higher level of service and quality. That's really what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, those are very big things. Tell us about the logistics of your practice. Do you have some support? Do you have a transaction coordinator? Do you have an assistant? Are you doing all of this on your own?
No, I don't do it by myself. I do have a transaction coordinator. Shout out to Sandy Schlappy. She's awesome. And she helps tremendously with following up for deadlines and everything that transaction coordinators do. They do a lot more than that. But so she helps me tremendously. I'm also a part of the Tom Ferry coaching program. So that's helped me tremendously too with bettering my skills and just working every day to be a better realtor.
Yeah, that's a very big deal. And we certainly do incorporate a lot of Ferry-esque type of things in our coaching and teaching and writing, so on and so forth. Tell us what some of the highlights are from what you've learned from Ferry about what you think is generating more and better business for you.
I think it's discipline, it's accountability, it's not doing it by yourself. When I first got into the business, of course, I wanted to be an entrepreneur and do things by myself, but I learned quickly that I need to be more disciplined. I needed more accountability, and it's not a bad thing to have a coach. I think I was a little too, prideful to say, I'm good. I don't need a coach. I can do this on my own, which you could, but I thought about it. I'm like, man, all these professional athletes and everyone that's really good at what they do, they have a mentor or a coach or someone that can encourage them and teach them and correct them and push them. So there's not necessarily one thing, but I would say accountability and the discipline and just the motivation to keep going day after day. Even when you are having a bad day or things don't go well, you got to just keep going. And the mindset has been huge for what Tom Ferry has taught me.
Okay. So mindset, accountability, actually doing the work that you know you need to be doing. Yep. That's a big one. And I think one of the things that you touched on that's really important for all of you to understand is having a coach is important. Even being a coach, I have a coach. I've had a lot of coaches over the years. I think it's important to understand that You probably do need a coach. That you need to understand that the coach that you work with when you start in the industry is going to be different than the coach that's going to take you to 20 deals a year, is going to be different than the coach that takes you to 50 deals a year, is going to be different than the coach that takes you to 100 deals a year. Assuming that you want that kind of growth. I know not all of you watching do, and I get that, and I don't have a problem with it. It certainly makes sense. There are plenty of agents out there where it's either supplemental, their spouse earns their income for the household, and then they do real estate to supplement that, or whatever the case may be, and that having 3 young children at home full time would be a ridiculous time constraint if you wanted to practice your real estate business to the extent of closing 40 or 50 deals a year, particularly without a whole lot of support, a whole lot of in the way of support staff, transaction coordinator, assistant, junior brokers, those kinds of things. But for those of you that are watching, I think what Steve says is very, very important, that, you probably do want a coach. Again, I think Steve's right. You don't necessarily need a coach. You can have a successful real estate practice, a successful mortgage practice, whatever the case may be, without one. But I do think that you will be able to get some of these things that Steve is talking about, like accountability, structure, scheduling, certainly ideas, certainly mindset, certainly communication skills, these kinds of things. And again, every coach is different. So, once you've developed, adopted, adapted, implemented something that you're getting from a coach, and you've seen the success from it, there's opportunity to find another coach. There's even opportunity to be a coach. So I want all of you watching to understand that. So how long have you been working with a coach?
I started working with Tom Ferry. It was, I think, May of 2016. So almost 3 years.
3 years. And prior to that, you were just kind of winging it.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
myself
it's certainly not meant to be the joke, and I don't want to offend any of our audience, because a lot of people are. If every real estate agent had a coach, well, it would certainly be a very different world. We'd see a lot of different things going on. But I do think that that's an important piece of the puzzle.
One thing that when I was kind of debating on should I have a coach or not, a guy I talked to in Utah who was part of the Tom Ferry coaching program, he said something really wise that stuck with me. He said, certainly you can do okay by yourself in real estate, but it may take you longer. If you're going to use a coach, you're going to exponentially grow and expedite your growth and get there much faster. And that's what I wanted to do. That's why I think it's worth paying for it and expediting the growth.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And what does that look like for you? That was actually my next question. What kind of production were you doing those first 2 years versus the last 3?
So the first year I actually did well. So it was 2015. I think I did 14 transactions. 2016, somewhere in that kind of same range, 14 transactions. But then the 2017 was my best year ever with coaching. I did 21 transactions, which was huge for me. It doubled my business from the year prior. Not necessarily like number of transactions, but income.
Okay. So the volume was up. So not only were you doing more transactions, you were doing better transactions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Last year I had a little bit of a dip, but this year, last year I had 16 transactions. I didn't reach my goals, but this year I'm shooting to do 24 transactions. So bouncing right back. So.
Okay. Yeah. And if you're constantly doing better transactions, if your volume per transaction is going up, then ideally you don't have to do more transactions.
True.
If you're doing a greater volume per transaction, if you're doing a greater volume over the course of the year, then in theory, you guys, you're actually doing the same amount of work for more money, or you're actually doing less work for the same amount of money. So those are really big things. Yeah, certainly don't think that you're falling short on your goals. And I would actually be willing to bet that a little more free time, not that any of us have free time, but that a little more flexible time would be something you would strive for as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the goal for this year is 24 transactions. Do you
Mm-hmm.
have an idea of what that means in terms of volume?
I think it's close to 10 million.
Okay. And these are great numbers. Obviously, very attainable. They're not ridiculous goals for any of you watching. That is, very realistic. And I don't think that Steve is setting his sights too low where he's going to accomplish a goal easily and then slack off the fourth quarter of the year. So I think those are really, really good numbers. But let's really take that data, Steve, and let's delve into what the general subject and content matter of our show is. Where are those 24 transactions going to come from? Where did the 16 last year come from? Tell us about your circle, your lead gen, how you're building repeat and referral business, those kinds of things.
Yep. So I have 5 main pillars of my business for lead sources. The first one, like most people, is their sphere of influence or past clients or forever clients, however you want to phrase that. So I do events for my sphere. I try to do one a quarter. I do this quarter. It's not necessarily a face-to-face event, but I did a March Madness tournament. March Madness just started last week, and have 60 plus people in the group, and I'm offering prizes for the top 3 winners, and plan on personally dropping off the prizes to those people who win, and hopefully people will remember me for that kind of thing. And then also when I drop it off, the gift to them at their work, people at work will say, "Hey, what was that about? That was your realtor? Wow, that's unique. That's different." So I do events and try to do things to always be top of mind with my sphere and past clients, and then also to have a good time and show appreciation to them as well. That's one of them. Open houses is another big lead source for me. This year, my goal is to do 36 open houses, and I have a kind of plan for all of that. That's a big lead source for me. I used to pay for Zillow, Realtor.com leads, and there was some success with it, but I felt like I was too much of a small player in a game where I needed to play big to win big, and I just didn't want to do that. Other things for me, social media is another lead source with from Instagram to Facebook to social networks like that. What else am I missing? Oh, and my farm. My farm is another big lead source for me. Last year, I doubled the number of sales I had from my farm. So that was great, and looking to continue growth and progress there as well.
Okay, so 5 is a lot. That's certainly going to keep you very busy, and I'm sure you've experimented with these over time to figure out that these 5 do work, that these are the 5 that fit your style, that you're able to manipulate and massage to work the way you want them to work, to do as much systemization and automation as you possibly can. We typically, and I want you guys to really hear this, our audience, mind you, because there's some really crucial things in here. One is that you guys as real estate agents, even as loan originators, although not to the same degree, are just bombarded with things you could be spending money on that may or may very well generate leads. Zillow's a good example here. This is something where somebody is probably hitting you weekly, monthly, and wanting you to really up your ad spend, your dollar spend, those kinds of things in order to generate leads. And I think that Steve is right in the sense that with something like Zillow, it's either go really big or go home. There's really no experimenting with it. You've got to go all in. I know I could tell from your face, from your tone, that this is not something that any of us would normally recommend to somebody trying to build a strict repeat and referral business. And I'm going to agree. If you guys want to figure out a way to buy leads, I don't think that's going to hit the mark. And then, of course, we could talk for hours about how doing that is essentially funding the demise of your own business. So we won't get too far into that. But I do want for you to elaborate on your open house work. Because I do think that doing open houses is one of the most wonderful ways to meet new people, build your contact database. Obviously, you guys have to have a big contact database, no matter what kind of prospecting and marketing you want to do. You know, whether it's mail, email, text, fly broadcast, whatever the case may be, you've got to have a big database. He who has the most friends wins in that sense. But tell us what an open house mentality, tactic, technique looks like for you, how you're using that to do those things and to further your lead generation.
Yeah, so kind of the mindset for me is an open house is a fabulous time to meet new people, obviously, and it's free. They're free leads. They're interested in, you're not going to them, they're coming to you, which is fantastic. Also, when I try to, one of the things that I have 20, I have 21 signs, actually one just broke, so 20 signs. I like to put out tons of signs because they're free billboards on the street, they're free, it's people seeing your name and your company, and also hopefully to drive traffic to the open house. But I do take it seriously with open houses. It's a great lead source from meeting people to having them sign in and follow up with them. I also try to, at the open houses, I try to build rapport with people and also to offer a time to meet with them, because if I can schedule an appointment to meet with them directly from the open house, there's a much higher likelihood they're going to actually convert and buy a house or sell a house, whatever the case may be. So I do try to offer something of value, whether it's a solution to their problem or whatever the case may be, to sit down and meet with these people to build that relationship and help them.
So there are a couple of really important points in there for those of you watching. One, those open house signs. He's planting nearly 24 billboards, essentially billboards, around a neighborhood where he's doing an open house. He doesn't have to buy. You can't buy that kind of exposure, and it's not costing him a dime unless he keeps breaking his signs. But you guys have signs. You've got to have signs. Obviously, we're very big on using the tools and resources that you already have. That's one of them, which leads into some important branding ideas. Now, a lot of you have signs that are very, very vague. They're, just a red arrow pointing. And I'm willing to bet that Steve's signs have his information on them, his name, some contact information, maybe a picture. But these are
no picture,
pieces. Well, what do they look like? Tell us. What content is on those signs?
So yeah, it's got obviously the Metro Brokers, Fanning Realty and Associates, my name. Doesn't have my phone number necessarily, but it's got on the black arrow. It's a yellow sign with the red Metro Brokers, and then a black arrow pointing to open house, and it says open house on it, of course. It says my name on the arrow pointing towards the open house.
Okay. So certainly your name.
Mm-hmm.
And in theory, there are two benefits to this. One, the branding. And two, obviously, the ability to drive more traffic to an open house than having 3 signs or 5 signs or whatever the case may be. So now that we're into really heavy tactical ideas here, how broad an area do you place those signs out?
It depends on the house, but I try to put at least 2 signs on each side of the main road it's by. I also have flags. I used to do balloons, but I got tired of going to the dollar store and buying balloons before the open houses, so I got flags. And I also have a 9-foot feathered flag that I try to put out so people will, like actually see the sign and hopefully come to the open house.
And
So
where are you putting that sign? You're putting the big sign at the house?
sometimes at the house or sometimes on the intersection, if there's a spot for it. So all the cars that are driving by will see the big feathered flag.
Okay, that's brilliant stuff. And then tell us about the interactions with people when they come into the house.
Mm-hmm.
How are you conversing with them? How are you doing data capture? And then tell us what you're doing in the way of follow-up as well.
Yep. So I usually have a lender there with me at the open house to help with greeting people and answering finance questions. But when they come in the door or just say, hey, I'm Steve Calley, welcome to the open house, what brings you in, that kind of stuff. Give them some information. I guide them to the sign-in. It's not a paper sheet. I have them sign in on the tablet, so it'll better capture it. And I actually find people sign in better on electronic devices rather than writing. They'll actually follow the prompts on the tablet than they will, on a piece of paper. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Absolutely, they will. There's no question about that. Before you get much further, though, I do want to back up a little bit. You said that you'll have a mortgage person, a loan originator, somebody who's skilled in mortgage speak with you. Is it commonly the same person? Is it somebody you have a deep referral relationship with? Does it change? What does that look like?
Yeah, usually it's the same few lenders, like the ones that I work with the most, my preferred lenders. That's typically who it is.
Okay. So for those of you watching that are loan originators, I want you to understand a couple of different things here. One, this is also a great way for you to spend some time adding to your contact database. The benefits that you're going to reap are going to be similar to the ones that the real estate agent who's attacking open houses with the proper mindset is going to reap. And of greater importance, and actually our video blog this week is about retail referral partnerships. So this is, referral relationships. This is what I really want you guys to understand. Open houses are not a constant, steady stream of consumer traffic. There are robust periods of time with opportunity for you and your referral partners, your real estate agent referral partners, and vice versa for those of you that are real estate agents and have loan originator referral partners. This is an opportunity rife with time for you guys to further build your relationship. And it should be a relationship. For those of you that are those handful of preferred lenders that Steve is having come in to do these open houses with him, take advantage of that time. Really find out what Steve's up to, what he's doing, how the kids are. You guys are helping each other put those kids through college. Make sure you treat that with the level of respect that it deserves, because that is an important piece of referral partner relationship stuff. So really hear me on that stuff for those of you that are loan originators, for those of you that are real estate agents, and where you're having symbiotic activity at those open houses. Sorry, go ahead, Steve. That really struck a chord with me.
Sure. After the sign-in parts, and one of the other thing, I actually got this from another realtor that I role play with in the mornings, or we have weekly calls with. At least he's with Remax, Pete G. He's awesome. But he had a sign that he puts on the front door that says, essentially, all visitors or all guests without an agent present must sign in. That helps, so I don't have to convince people to sign in it, and it's for the safety and protection partially of the owner as well.
Sure.
Of course, I'm gonna follow up with these people, but it also protects the seller in that sense if something were missing or whatever. So that helps. So I don't have to convince people really to sign in too much. Then after that, give them a flyer. They take a look around the house. Once they're done, I ask, what questions, what feedback do you have? And then I try to If they're not working with an agent, if they haven't signed a contract to work with another agent, then I will see if I can meet with them. Of course, I'm not gonna. I respect when people have agents. I'm not gonna mess with that at all. But if they don't have an agent, want to offer them value and an opportunity to meet with me so I can help them.
That's awesome. And Steve, thank you so much. I mean, that is just a wonderful amount of content that we are able to extrapolate from you, especially on this open house technique. And for those of you watching, yes, I know we're running just a hair long, but I really wanted you guys to have that information. I really wanted to pick Steve's brain about it. So, Steve, before we let you go, and not that we'll actually let you go, but before we sign off with our audience, we do get some consumer viewership. So let us know how people can reach out to you.
Yep. So my phone number is 720-219-4801. You can go to my website, calleyrealty.com. You can call, text, you can Google me and check out reviews, all those kinds of things. And I take great pride in helping people through service, integrity, and giving maximum value.
That's fantastic. So again, thank you so much for being with us. We certainly appreciate it. For those of you watching, if you'd like more information about all kinds of stuff, certainly things circumnavigating around lead generation, if you'd like to inquire about being a guest on our show, and for a robust amount of data pinging back to you, you can use our text code at the bottom of the screen. That is CORE, and you can text that to 63566, and it will ping you back all kinds of good things like information about the show, how to access our weekly video blog for agents and originators, just a quick tip every week on something you can be doing to generate more business. It'll give you the link to pick up a copy of my new book, Just the Tips, which is all about lead generation. And of course, it'll give you the information on how to reach out to any of us on the show. So thank you all for watching. Have an amazing week. Steve, again, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's been our pleasure, I assure you. Kelly, I assume we're not missing any questions or information that you want to contribute. I feel terrible that I do this to you every week.
Nope.
Okay. Well, you guys watching, have a wonderful week. Steve, hang on just a sec. We'll talk after we sign off. Give us just a minute to do that, and we'll see you guys next week.